Skinwalker in Texas. I live on the outskirts of Houston, Texas, in a town called Spring. There's a lot of traffic, plus a lot of people who reside here. I live off of a busy road, however it used to be nothing but land. Let me give you a visual of how it is today. So my grandparents have lived on this property before I was even born. Well, as of 2013, we moved a trailer onto the property, so that's where I have been living. We used to have over 50 acres until they decided to build a neighborhood behind us. Now we have a total of 2 acres. There are houses that are kind of far apart-ish. It's walking distance to the next house. However, on the property, there is an old farmhouse which my grandparents live in. Then the trailer behind it is where me and my mother and son reside. Then we have a shed that's located in front of the trailer house. Then if you're looking at the trailer from up front to the far left is an old barn. We used to have a cow and a horse. It was a farming land once upon a time. Then there's a gully beside of it and trees all around. So now that you have a visual, I'll definitely start my story. This one especially started the spiral. It's not my first experience, but it's definitely one of the ones that is recent and keeps happening. I want to say it was late August of this year. I was asleep on the couch and I had this feeling that something was not right. There was an energy shift which caused me to wake up. I wake up in complete darkness. Mind you, I had the TV on for background noise as I do every night. I cannot sleep without sound, for I hear every little thing. But that is explainable, for my mother had come through, so I was asleep and decided to turn it off. She then proceeds to come back through, open the door, and go outside. I didn't think anything of it at first because she does that a lot to go over to my grandparents' house. But this night I just felt completely off. Then she comes back inside, locks the door, and walks back to her room. I proceed to turn the TV back on and I start feeling that gut feeling that something was about to go down. I try to ignore it, and eventually in a span of like 10 minutes end up going back to sleep. I then wake up to my mother opening the door again and looking outside. I ask her, "What are you doing?" She said she saw this huge hunched over deformed dog thing and she wanted to go investigate. I then have that screaming feeling of, no, do not go. She asked me why. Mind you, she's an extremely religious person and I'm not. She's full blown out crosses everywhere in the house religious person. Well, a few months ago we put up a camera in the driveway and I said to her, "Why don't you just look at the cameras?" She said I did, but it didn't register, so I'm going to go investigate. I told her with a stern voice, "If you value your life, you will not go outside at any and all cost." She then said to me that it was just a dog. Well, she went back to her room and at that time I heard 3 knocks. The heavy feeling came over me and I just couldn't breathe, followed by a little whistle. She then proceeds to come out again, and she messed up by opening the door. I screamed at her to close that door instantly, and she did and locked it and tried to convince herself that it was a dog. I know for a fact there was indeed not a dog. Well, that's the beginning of the spiral. In the weeks that came and went, things started unfolding and not in a good way. I would go to sleep, and I know I was being watched and even heard her voice. In the daytime, mind you, she was still at work. I knew she had let something in that night, and she wouldn't do much but ignore it or simply get out of the house. Well, then one night I was texting my friend eating a snack and I had moved spots because my spot was taken by my son, who I just had put to bed not too long after. PSA, my mother was dead asleep when I had taken my son to bed. I know this for a fact because I triple-checked that I didn't wake her up. I finally sit on the couch that faces away from the hallway. When I see out of the corner of my eye, it was my mother peeking around the corner. I looked over and she had this very non-human smile that literally went from ear to ear. It startled me and scared me. Now, I work with demons and such, and I do not get scared easily. However, this terrified me. I had to call someone and say, "Listen, I need you to listen to me," and told them what was going on. About that time, she peeked around the corner again, all wide-eyed, with a huge smile again. This time it was sharp teeth. And she didn't bounce back, clearly. I looked at her, and whatever it was stood there and slowly backed away. Like, very slowly. I was terrified and even started crying. I did not sleep much that night, or the next few nights, really. It started getting into my head because if I went to sleep, I would feel something over me that wasn't in the slightest way nice. And it would give me horrible dreams, which then led to more spiraling. I wanted to go see if she was truly asleep or just messing with me, but something told me not to enter that hallway, that I would regret it. So I simply kept my head down when I had to go to the restroom, which was the beginning of the hallway. More weeks come and go and activity starts to spike, majorly. My mother even started acting different. She got more mad at things. This story is confusing, for it has a lot in one, but one night I was on the phone with one of my best friends and I was outside because I knew I could be heard in the house. So I go outside to sit on the porch, on the steps, when out of the corner of my eye from the roof, I see a head. Me being me, I slowly look up, but it had disappeared. I simply paused what I was saying on the phone and told my friend to hold on. I got up and walked inside, closed the door, and locked it. That's when the scratches and knocks started happening again, along with mumbles from outside, which sounded kind of robotic. I knew not to go back outside. Things have been really spiking a lot lately in this household, and it keeps getting worse and worse. I have done everything imaginable, and things usually calm down for a couple of weeks, then spiral again. Such as something walking heavily on the roof, knocks, scratches, pounding. Right now, all that there is pounding, scratching, and knocking. Sometimes also mimics my son and my mother all the time. I've cleansed the house as well, but nothing seems to be stopping it. Just puts it at bay. That's my recent story, and I have a lot worse ones about before this became a busy area when things would call out to me in the woods when I was a child. Whoa. Okay. That is the most Walker story that I have ever read, I think. Like, that is so on the nose for every bit of information that we have about these creatures. You said you've cleansed. I would keep up protections on you, your mom, and your son, and your house. I would also consider getting something iron and putting it on your property, maybe around the four corners of it, and especially on the inside of your door. Railroad spikes are really good for that, if you can find those. I know the metaphysical store we have here has those, so check that out, order some if you need to. But oh my god, I'm so sorry you're dealing with that.